How have you been, Lee Camp?
Not bad, hanging in there. I just got off the stream with, I hear he's a buddy of yours, Dave Anthony.
No, how's Diamond Dave Anthony doing?
Yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah, I had him on. I've actually, I had him on to talk about the West Wing thing mainly on my live stream, but and about how Sorkin has destroyed the world. But I've never actually met him. He and I have never crossed paths before. I just, when I was listening to West Wing thing, and I'd heard his name before, I was like, this guy sounds a lot like me.
Yeah, I've known Dave for probably 20 years. We co-produced with another guy the Los Angeles Podcast Festival together. So I've known Dave for a long time. And then, you know, his show, The Dollop, started to get big. And then when I started doing this show like over 4 years ago, and Jimmy started doing live shows, Dave was like, "Yep, I've been a wacky lefty socialist this whole time. Let's so it's we like, you know, we just call each other."
So he was keeping it a secret, huh? He was finally outed.
Yeah, he was outed. And then now we just call each other periodically and talk about predictions of when America is going to collapse. Basically, is how it goes.
What's the over under?
I think the over under is about 9 months.
Good.
So, but then there's this new bet that's popped up that we're both like, I don't know if there's going to be this like big event like America, market crash thing. It might just be America slowly sort of limps along in just apathetic decay, not realizing that they're living in a collapsed country, thinking it's still, because they're told it's the greatest country in the world. Like people just are not, they're going to go, yeah, there's more homeless and there's shootings every week and cops aren't held accountable. And
yeah, I increasingly think it's like a slower decline, but slower is relative. Like it could take 50 years, but 50 years in the history of even when you just talk about various genres of humanity, empires, 50 years is like a blink of an eye. But to an average human life, it seems like, we've been going downhill for 50 years now.
Yeah, you're right. On a like historical timeline, it's like America was completely decimated in 2075, and you're like,
did you know that? I think so. I'm not quite sure I have the dinosaur types right, but I think I have it right. That the Triceratops is closer to us in time than it was to like the T-Rex or something. Meaning dinosaurs were on the planet for like over 60 million years. Like modern human civilization has been here for like what, 100,000? Like we are a tiny speck of dust even on the history of just this planet.
Yeah, so you're right. Give or take 50 years, I don't think it's going to matter whether this. I mean, so what's your over under on the human race?
Oh, I'm going under. Just under.
Just bet under. No matter what, just bet the under.
I mean, this is one of my theories, and I think this absolutely goes under the category of a government secret. One of my theories on, the Fermi paradox, where are all the aliens? It was proposed by a famous physicist who worked on the Manhattan Project. But he basically said, we know there are more stars than grains of sand on the Earth's beaches. So that means that you calculate the number of habitable planets. There should be billions of civilizations of aliens. So, and the way he put it was, where is everyone? And so the famous "where is everyone" paradox. Now there's not a million, but there's several legitimate answers, such as they're so advanced that they view us as, ants or termites. And so they know we exist, but they're like, why would we stick our head in a fucking termite nest? So, that's one answer.
a just really horrible neighborhood. They're just like, why would we go there? They're just, why would we stop? We're an advanced civilization. They're murdering each other.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
I mean, they're fucking horrific. Why would we ever venture near that? It's, you see a bunch of guys like just killing and stabbing each other. You're not going to be like, let me walk into that, see how that goes.
Exactly. Let's say there was a neighborhood, a cul-de-sac, a gated community, let's call it. And everyone in there is just beating the shit out of each other, shooting. There's heroin. They rob you. They're blowing up each other's houses for resources. They're staging a coup against the homeowners association.
Definitely raping things.
They're just stealing land. Would you like, oh no, they have a good restaurant there though. I mean, there's a nice you'd be like, we're never going near that neighborhood ever.
But I heard they have the bakery there sells delicious little cakes, so I'm gonna go.
They're gluten free and some of their vegan ones, and you'd never know the difference. So it's worth it. Like, yeah, we might get set on fire, but
I did get stabbed once and punched twice, but I'm gonna go anyway because they're they're delish. They're delish. But anyway, what I was gonna say is one of the what were you? Oh, you asking the over under on humanity? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah, humanity collapsing, and then
then
you're bringing up the aliens, but the theories of why we don't see aliens.
Yeah, why we don't see aliens. So one theory, which I feel like I could kind of subscribe to this one, is that an intelligent species just kills themselves. I mean, we are on the brink of killing ourselves with nuclear war. We're killing ourselves with environmental destruction, just extracting all the resources and destroying the planet. And there's other ways we're on the brink of killing ourselves, such as creating some form of AI that we then implant in everyone that then takes over and decides that humans suck. But there's a lot of ways we could kill ourselves. So and we've only been here, like I said, the blink of an eye compared to the dinosaurs, who were not very intelligent. So if you look at time on Earth as a species, success rate, then we seem to be far less successful than the dinosaurs. And so maybe that's the answer to the Fermi paradox. Where is everyone? Well, once they get intelligent, they find a reason to accidentally kill themselves.
They just murder themselves. They blow themselves up.
Yeah.
Which is that's one of the theories of Atlantis, is not that it was this underwater society, that it was this actually highly advanced society that became warlike, and it blew itself up and literally sank into the ocean. They had such advanced weaponry that they blew themselves up and sank into the ocean. And I'm like, well, that makes more sense. And then if you read Edgar Casey's book, Many Mansions, now I'm getting into metaphysical stuff, who Edgar Casey came up with, was an average guy who you read his book, he talks about reincarnation and what that was about. And he was like, yeah, the Atlantis society was all highly intelligent, highly advanced, but very, very militarized. And they blew each other up, and they all got reincarnated in the last 50 years. So that's what all these psychos are, Dick Cheney and whatever else. They're all just people from Atlantis who were reincarnated, and they're going to blow us up again.
Interesting. Usually here Atlantis talked about as a positive people, but to have them all be psychopathic warlords.
Yes, they are highly advanced, and it supports your theory that they were highly advanced. They probably had space.
But here's my problem: is if Atlantis was highly advanced, then I'm sorry, one of them would have taken a trip at some point and dropped a tricorder on somewhere else, like ancient Rome would have found. Some Star Trek device.
Not if they all went in the ocean.
It all went in the. You tell me not one guy traveled and dropped his tricorder? Come on.
Everybody, if everything fell in the ocean, Lee.
Everything.
I mean, everything. It all just whoops, it all went overboard, and
it just. Because come on, their tricorders like their car keys. They must have left it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, no, they just blew each other up with their dilithium crystals, and then everybody, that was it. There's nothing left.
Has anybody seen my dilithium crystals? I had them here. They were.
You shit. Where are my dilithium crystals? I had them.
Did you?
Oh,
honey, Mabel.
Did you drop a tricorder in the ocean again? Like they're. Oh
yeah, I'm telling you. I mean, it's at some point over the history of the past 100 years, someone would have found a dolphin with a tricorder stuck in its blowhole. Like it would have happened.
What if though this is my big pushback? What if their weaponry was so advanced they blew themselves up so much it was just everything was like dust gone. And so
and the guy who left the tricorder in Italy, that it just sucked the tricorder in too.
Yeah, everything got the whole planet just got fucking turned to dust, turned to just cooking flour, just gone. So there is no mechanic or no dolphin with a tricorder in its blowhole.
I mean. The most convincing theory I've seen
it's not mine. It's not my theory.
No, I'm sorry. The most it's not mine. The most convincing theory I've seen was, and I know he didn't come up with it, but Rob Riggle hosts some Discovery Channel travel show where he went to. It was once an island off of like Greece, but it was blown up in one of the largest volcanoes, like a caldera type volcano that doesn't leave a nice little volcano. Instead, it is so massive. It's what's underneath Yellowstone. It's so massive that it just destroys hundreds of miles of radius. And there was a society there in the little bit of land that remains after this. There was a society there at some point. And so there's a lot of people that believe that society was what people describe as Atlantis, and it did sink into the ocean because it was blown up in the largest volcano.
See?
And you're saying they had tricorders. That's what you're saying.
But they all got turned to dust because of the big Yellowstone volcano. It all makes sense. If you really connect the dots on this one, it all adds up very much so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure buffalo were involved at one point. Yeah. It adds up.
I mean, just this conversation alone is enough to make an alien species go, oh, these guys are idiots. I'm not talking about tricorders and dolphins.
How long does it take for this broadcast to get to Alpha Centauri? Because
they're just like, have you guys just listen to what they call it a podcast? They're morons. They're idiots. I'm not going to that planet. It sounds like idiots. But we should tell people that they are listening to Government Secrets, episode 37.
You know we're a bit loopy when it takes 26 minutes to get to the name of the show. I have already, while you were off the air, I've alerted to everyone what the topics are. So I think we can commence, and we can start. One of mine is the first one I want to do is an update on something that I found out we covered on the first episode, which was the Russian Bounties story. But let's go with yours first.
Oh, okay. Well, I think technically the Atlantis is a government secret. I think we should file it as the Atlantis tricorder as a government secret.
And what exactly is it the government's hiding?
That there's tricorders and blowholes of dolphins in their.
Got it. I mean, if that got out, I mean,
honestly, it's as insane as America is. And Americans are more willing to accept that than like the CIA killed JFK. Like really,
dude. There are real people out there that think that the ruling elite are not just evil and greedy; that they literally are just like eating babies. And it's like how are you a real human being that believes that? It's like these are some fucked up individuals. But once you take it to the eating baby level. You've jumped the shark. You've jumped the dolphin blowhole. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I always say about that is like, you don't need to make what they're already doing. You don't need to add evil. Like, you don't need to add some demonic sci-fi. Just like, they're power-hungry sociopaths that will kill and blow things up for money. Like, they traffic children. That's evil enough. You don't need to then eat babies. Oh,
right. I think the eating baby thing was put out by the CIA just to take all of the people that were kind of on to what really was going on and just make them look nuts.
Oh, it's absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that's what QAnon was to set. They're like, put some real shit in QAnon and then put some crazy shit in there so that when they come close to real stuff, we go, oh, now you're just doing QAnon. You're just eating babies and drinking Vulcan blood or whatever their thing is, you know? So anyway, speaking of Vulcan blood, let me go. So one of my favorite things about this show is sometimes I've researched something for a while and I have an idea. I really want to talk about this, or I've known about something, or I just learned about something and I want to do it. And then there's times, like, since I just moved and I was trying to set up my studio, I was like, this is why we will never run out of episodes, Lee Camp. Because I literally just was like, what I've done that we know you can do CIA Operation Bingo and just type in a letter and you'll get something. So this time I just decided to go Colorado mining scams or cover-ups. Colorado mining cover-ups.
Really? You picked a state. That's cool.
I was like, let's pick a state, because I started to think, as I'm excited about if things eventually open up, you and I go on the road, and if we ever do this live, we should absolutely do at least one regional government secret. Right?
I like it.
So I was like, that'll be a cool thing for the live show if we ever get to that. And I was like, so if we're ever doing a show in Colorado, I know they have crazy mining. So I found out about the Ludlow Massacre. This was, I want to read this, the Ludlow Massacre was a massacre perpetrated, and it's going to sound eerily familiar.
Some of these will sound a little repetitive.
Because governments are pretty consistent in how they're awful. There was a massacre perpetrated by anti-striker militia during the Colorado Coalfield War. There was a big strike in the Colorado coalfields, and soldiers from the Colorado National Guard and private guards employed by Colorado Fuel and Iron Company attacked a colony of roughly 1,200 striking coal miners and their families in Ludlow, Colorado on April 20th of 1914. Approximately 21 people, including miners' wives and children, were killed. Jesus. John D. Rockefeller Jr.
If you look up Rockefeller, you see philanthropist. I thought he was just a philanthropist.
Yeah, so did I. I thought he just did good things. I didn't realize. I thought all these guys made their money honestly by pulling themselves up by their bootstraps.
Yeah.
And gee, we've never had before or since private companies using the United States military to take out its own citizens, right? Standing Rock.
I've never heard of such a thing.
It's not like we did that with Tiger Swan and Standing Rock. I mean, that's never. No. It wasn't like that's never happened. So there's
it's not like Stratford is a privatized CIA or anything.
No. This isn't like a rich, long tradition of the American corporate state. Basically, they've been doing this since the inception of this country. So our good friend John D. Rockefeller, and I'm sure we could do 15 episodes just on his family, who was a part owner in the Colorado Fuel and Iron Company, who had recently appeared before the United States congressional hearing on the strikes, was widely exonerated for having orchestrated the massacre. So
listen, I mean, everybody's going to orchestrate a few massacres.
Yeah, I know. Why do we like Elon Musk says, we'll coup who we want to coup.
Right.
We should be able to, We should be able to do what we want to say, how we want to say it. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to press. No, this one.
You narcissist.
Yeah, I just want. This is the whole show. Me, look at what I'm saying. So this is the thing that is actually great about this show, and the more I learn on this specific show, it's literally how it's the same pattern. So John D. Rockefeller, how did he get exonerated? Gee, take a guess. He just bought politicians the way you've always done, and you go in front of a congressional hearing, which we know is just a puppet show for the billionaires.
Right.
To make it seem like we have a democracy. Well, Congress exonerated him, so it must be fine. And this massacre was the seminal event of the 1913-1914 Colorado Coalfield War, which began with a general United Mine Workers of America strike against poor labor conditions. So, again, horrific labor conditions. They just wanted, decent wages and not dying, not dying in a coal mine.
Fucking greeny miners always asking for not dying.
Oh, they're the worst. They don't want to die. They're like these school teachers just taking all that extra money. So here's what they so against the labor conditions at CFI's Southern Colorado coal mines. The strike was organized by miners against coal mining companies in Colorado, miners working for the Rocky Mountain Fuel Company and Victor American Fuel Company. Ludlow was the deadliest single incident in the Colorado Coalfield War and spurred a 10-day period of heightened violence throughout Colorado. In retaliation for the massacre at Ludlow, bands of armed miners attacked dozens of anti-union establishments, destroying property and engaging in several skirmishes with the Colorado National Guard along the 225-mile front from Trinidad to Louisville. From the strike's beginning in September of 1913 to intervention by federal soldiers under President Woodrow Wilson, orders on April 29th, 1914, an estimated 69 to 199 people were killed during the strike. It was called the deadliest strike in the history of the United States.
You mean Klan member Woodrow Wilson was not very friendly?
No, Klan member Woodrow Wilson sent federal troops in there to lock this shit down because it's weird. You have a bunch of soldiers and private cops come and kill people on strike. And then they go, you know what, the hell with this. And they go retaliate. And then they're the crazy criminals. Gee, have we heard that before? Have we ever heard that before in this country?
Yeah, I think we've done a few episodes on that.
It's been like the theme of this entire podcast. And so what this is, the socialist historian Howard Zinn described it as the culminating act of perhaps the most violent struggle between corporate power and laboring men in American history. Congress responded to public outrage by directing the House Committee on Mines and Mining to investigate the events. Oh, it's a good cover-up kangaroo court.
Were you just reading? I can't see it. Does Wikipedia say socialist historian?
Yes, about Howard Zinn.
Are they? I mean, I don't doubt he was a socialist, but I feel like that's like Wikipedia's attempt to malign him in the minds of those who don't understand and think socialists are evil. Because he was just a historian. He doesn't need to be. It'd be like if someone described my show and was like, Jew comedian Lee Camp.
It's really I know.
I mean, he was just one of the most, impressive and talented historians this country's ever seen. He doesn't need to be called socialist historian.
Well, it's weird. If you're a historian that really calls out all of this, the untold history of America, you show what America's really all about, then suddenly you're a socialist. You're an evil socialist. It's like you've just been, all Howard Zinn has done is call out the evil of history of this country, much of it perpetrated by capitalists. So he must be a socialist historian.
Right, relaying the real. It's long been known that relaying the real history of this country is a socialist activity. So,
yes, yes. I think because I'm a vegetarian, I'm just going to refer to anybody else as the murder-eating historian. Just calling anyone a murder eater. I'm
a vegetarian too. Don't you leave me out like that? Like I'm some sort of fucking awful fucking meat eater,
meat-eating murderer. Vegetarian Jew comedian Lee Camp.
Guilty. Although it's even worse. It's vegetarian Jew atheist comedian Lee Camp.
Oh, good Lord!
That gets even worse because unlike those crazy Christians, once you're an atheist as a Jew, you continue to be a Jew atheist. So.
And his co-host, godless hippie Graham Elwood, do their show Government Secrets. But so yes, this is Wikipedia. We must know that it is our good friends at Wikipedia, but they have more fun things to say about this event. So after in a report published by the Kangaroo House and Means Committee, was influential in promoting child labor laws and an 8-hour workday. So some good did come out of it.
Well, that's it. Well, actually, we can just pause for a second. I mean, that's the thing. I think people should definitely walk away from this is not just the extent that corporate America and our government will go to crush workers standing up, but as Howard Zinn covered many times, it is that this country has a long history of workers standing up and getting murdered, massacred, having their lives destroyed, being arrested, and going through all of that to create the reality that we enjoy. I mean, the good parts of our reality that we enjoy today, such as, a 5-day work week, a 9 to 5 if you have it, healthcare if you have it, a workplace that doesn't have 6-year-olds if you have it. So it's like there's so many things that workers fucking fought so hard for. Many were killed, many were imprisoned, and we're erasing the history of those who did that fight.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like, do people realize, like, people died so we could have an 8-hour workday. Yeah. People died. They died. They were murdered. They fought. They had to literally get into a gun battle, as we just heard, for a year, so that you could have weekends. That kids couldn't work in coal mines. Like, they had to die to get that right. That's how cruel these robber baron capitalists have always been. And now they're just on steroids. Now it's just like Bezos, what he's doing, and amazing that they voted down. It's amazing they voted that down in Alabama. I'm just perplexed at like how significant the propaganda is to like get people to vote against their own interests.
Well, that's absolutely true. I did some coverage on that, and the Nation had a pretty good article. I don't know if it's going a little hard on it, but about how it was not organized as well as we might think, in that they failed to really let the workers know that the number of people that were supporting it, and obviously when you find out a lot of people are supporting it, you think it's safe to support it. They didn't go door to door because of the pandemic, which longtime union organizers say that like door to door discussions is where it's at. Like that's how you actually can talk to people and not have the all-seeing eye of Amazon standing over them. There are a lot of things that kind of got in the way, but there's also a lot of good to take out of it, such as the fact that it became a national discussion.
Yeah, it's I am glad it's a national discussion, and I hope more people just go, well, we gotta fight, and we gotta do this in our state, and wherever there's Amazon, people should be doing this. And to get back to this, the massacre site is now owned by the United Mine Workers of America, to erect a granite monument in memory of those who died that day. The Ludlow Tent Colony site was designated a National Historic Landmark on January 16, 2009, and dedicated on June of 2009. Subsequent investigators immediately following the massacre and from modern archaeological efforts largely support some of the strikers' accounts.
Man, I got to go and get my souvenir mug.
I mean, yeah, this is one of those stories that, like you say, it's important to, again, it was important in getting child labor laws and everything, as we just said, that came out of the 1915 congressional hearing. And it should be relevant today. That's the egregious crime that socialist historian Howard Zinn does of telling people about this stuff. Because I think that's part of the problem in how sophisticated they are with the propaganda. So one of the ways that they've done it, obviously, is they've rewritten history or just hidden parts of history, because Americans then have this notion of, wow, that's not possible, that'll never work, or that's never happened. And you go, no, it is. This did happen. This is possible. This is why we can fight for this today. And every time you bring up a historical reference to somebody of like, no, actually this happened, they did this or this, people go, oh, like, all right, well then we can do that, and, or even just what you're talking about, that article in The Nation about the Alabama strike not succeeding, is they didn't do certain things and get people involved. And people should learn about this Ludlow massacre and all of the laws that were passed out of it. And also the other thing people really need to understand, you need to study the tactics of the corporate state. They are the enemy. So you need to read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and then you need to study the tactics of them and realize that they're not going to play fair. They're not going to play nice. They're going to be awful. They're going to do awful things, and prepare yourself for that.
They're going to lie a lot.
They're going to lie. They're going to smear you. They're going to threaten you. They're going to spend money to crush you. They're going to do whatever they got to do to protect their wealth.
They're going to change the amount of time that you sit at the stoplight outside the factory so that people don't have time to talk to you. That's what Amazon did. They got the city to change the amount of time the stoplight held cars outside the factory, because that's where organizers were speaking to people.
Jesus. Yeah, and that's why it's like, when you hear that, that's why you have to get these direct actions that we're going to take today for whatever need to be creative and sophisticated. Again, I referenced the Wall Street bets. That was like genius. And like the kids on TikTok or whatever buying up the tickets in Tulsa for Trump's thing, like just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to get involved in a labor strike against a company like Amazon, like, let go of any delusions that they're going to play fair, and think like a criminal. Think like a detestable, maggot-ridden corporate asshole, and go, how do we fight? How do we fight this? And what tactics are they going to use? And what can we use to outsmart them? Because they're hoping that we just keep with the traditional forms of organizing. Get a group, get an activist, and they'll infiltrate it. They'll get everybody fighting with each other. They do that. That's what the intelligence community does. And they're basically an arm of the corporate state. So you've got to get creative. And that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I think that's all absolutely true. I mean, another theme of this show is any awful, shitty thing that you think corporations or the government, which, nowadays they're basically one and the same. Any awful, shitty thing you think they'd never do that, they'll do that. Like, and anytime you're like, they would never hold up medication that's going to Venezuela for children and the elderly just because they dislike Venezuela. No, they would do that. They will do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, they'll sanction countries like Iran and Venezuela during a pandemic. Absolutely. They did it. So that's the Ludlow Massacre government secret.
All right, man. This may be the only one we have time for, but I am cool with that. But I like it because it's a an update on, and I was looking back at our topics, and this was the topic on episode 1. Oh, by the way, Graham, if you hit the private chat, I gave you the link to the article you can pull up if you want.
Okay.
So we talked about, on episode 1, apparently, we talked about the Russian bounty story. And even at the time, I talked about how ridiculous it was, how it was coming from fucking like anonymous sources in the CIA, and the idea that Russia would need to pay the Taliban to try and fight the Americans when the Taliban was already fighting the Americans. Like, it was so garbage. And it was within like a week of when Trump said he was withdrawing 10,000 troops from Germany and all the rest of the troops from Afghanistan. And it was just so see-through obvious that this was a bullshit story to have Trump keep the troops there and continue the Cold War, further the Cold War with Russia. And so we said, we weren't the only ones. There were other, great reporters talking about how this was phenomenal bullshit. Meanwhile, Rachel Maddow was literally showing images of soldiers on the screen that she said had likely been murdered by Russians or by Russian bounties. So she was acting like this had any legitimacy. So now we have our update this week. And this article is coming from the Daily Beast, which is not known for doing good work, but they're just reporting what the Biden administration said. The Biden administration has updated the U.S. intel community has backed off their claims that Russia put bounties on American troops. They have said that they have low confidence in these claims, low to moderate, which in intelligence speak means basically nothing, means it's a fucking rumor. So it's collapsed as like anyone who understands anonymous sourcing claims knew it would. And the Biden administration has finally mentioned this. But what's also hilarious, on top of just how stupid this makes so much of the mainstream media look, how fucking they look dumb as journalists, but they also look dumb as just believing anything the government or the deep state says. But so not only is there that, but there's also the fact that in this statement, during this statement, when the Biden official said that, we have low to moderate, we're backing it off to low to moderate confidence. Within that statement, they also put sanctions on Russia for what they claimed were other reasons. They claim the reasons are interfering in the 2020 election, which we were told was completely legit, but now apparently Russia altered the election, but not well enough or something. I don't know. Wait. It's fucking insane.
They hacked it just enough to lose some down ballot races to corporate Democrats, or how?
They actually were only going after like sheriff elections and like
school board,
assistant to the secretary of the city council.
Like, oh, Russia got their guy into comptroller. Like, it's really.
Dude, nobody knows this, man. Russia owns all the comptrollers across America. Every fucking comptroller. They trolled us on the comptrollers, man.
That's how they did it, man. They get control of the comptrollers, and then it's a house of cards. It just disintegrates.
It just goes from there. Listen, our country's strong, but it can't handle a comptroller insurrection, all right?
If there's a Russian school board, we're done. They're going to teach our kids how to just eat borscht, and then it's over. It's over.
But so my favorite thing that the administration official said And this also was Jen Psaki. I don't know if that's the official. So this was a senior administration official. I guess they don't have the name that Daily Beast didn't. But Jen Psaki, the press secretary, said the same thing the following day. But literally backing off the claim. So, in human to human speak, basically saying, yeah, we have no proof that's true. And in the following sentence going, this information, this is a quote, by the way, on the Biden administration official. This information puts a burden on the Russian government to explain its actions and take steps to address this disturbing pattern of behavior. You just said there wasn't any. You just said it. You just said it. You just said we made this shit up. And now you're like, and now Russia, answer for yourself.
Lee, I know I accused you of breaking into my home and stealing everything, and now I'm telling you we have no credible evidence that you even know where I live or broke in or stole anything. But you need to answer for this, though.
Listen.
You need to answer for the fact that there's now no evidence that you broke in and stole anything from my home, but that's still a little shifty.
Listen, can we not at least say this is a disturbing pattern of behavior? I mean,
them not doing anything?
Yeah, can we not at least say that you breaking in here and stealing anything, even though I'll admit there's no evidence of that and I still have all my things? Can we at least say this is a disturbing pattern of behavior?
I just am a little leery of a country that A, doesn't hack our elections because there's no evidence and that's been debunked, and then B, is not paying bounties to kill our soldiers. It just makes me a little suspicious.
I mean, it doesn't seem like they're really working very hard. So I want them to answer for that. Are you guys just sitting around or what?
Yeah. Why didn't you do the bounties?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't you hack our elections?
So, I mean, honestly, this is just yet another story connected to Russia. The other ones that are like this are usually connected to China, but where there's just literally nothing.
They say there's nothing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put this back up on the screen. This is a form of insanity. Listening to these jackwagons. The United States, quote, the United States intelligence community assesses with low to moderate confidence that Russian intelligence officers sought to encourage Taliban attacks, U.S. and coalition personnel in Afghanistan in 2019 and perhaps earlier, a senior administration official said. They said they didn't believe in it. And then the next quote, this information puts a burden on the Russian government to explain its actions and take steps to address the disturbing pattern of behavior. You're out of your minds.
Right. And they're using these euphemisms and doublespeak to try and confuse people. But like in the intelligence community, low confidence means a rumor of a rumor. It means that a dude that had his balls strapped to a car battery in Afghanistan blurted out, yeah, the Russians are paying us just to get you to turn off the car battery. Like, that is all it is.
It's not even, I mean, it's probably like, I don't even know what that, they probably said, say it was the Russians or we're going to turn the car battery on your balls again. It's probably what they did.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know Russia. Say it. What? Who did it? It was Russia. There we go.
There we go. Right. I mean, it's utterly nothing. And so then Glenn Greenwald makes a great point. He wrote an article about how this insanity collapsed. And here's the thing, before I even get to that, is you have to understand that it's not like all of us who gave a shit or were reading articles, we all bought into it. Many of us who even have a slight skeptical eye about what our government's doing, what our mainstream media hacks are doing, we knew this was bullshit. So there are people out there that, for everybody listening, there are people out there you can follow who know when a story's bullshit, even if it hasn't collapsed like this one has now, even before that. And so me and Graham and Aaron Mate and Glenn Greenwald and Max Blumenthal and the Gray Zone and Mint Press and all these outlets, they are, and we are talking about how it's bullshit. And then, 8 months later, they go, oh yeah, it's bullshit. So there's people who know in advance. But anyway, Glenn Greenwald wrote an article about all of this collapsing, and he added a great point, which is initially the New York Times reported it, and they said anonymous sources. And you know that when they say anonymous sources, that could mean fucking anything. That could mean this. That could just mean one guy at the CIA, which we know lies to us. So they say anonymous sources. All these other people run with it. But then I'll quote Glenn Greenwald's article. Even worse, other media outlets, led by the Washington Post, purported to have, quote, independently confirmed the New York Times CIA tale of Russian bounties. Twice in the last year, I have written about this bizarre practice where media outlets purport to independently confirm one another's false stories. And they do this by doing nothing more than going to the same anonymous source who whispered to the other, to the New York Times, who whispered to the initial story, the same anonymous source who whispered to them the same things while providing no new evidence. Yet they use this phrase, independently confirm, to purposefully imply that they obtained separate evidence corroborating the truth of the original story. So it makes sense. Like, people see CNN and say, we've independently confirmed this story from the New York Times, and they think, oh, they must have found the guy in Afghanistan who was paid the bounty. Like, they must have new evidence to confirm it. But no, what they did was call the CIA, the same fucking people, the CIA that lied to the New York Times, lie to them. And there you go. They've confirmed it.
It's hard to keep track of how insane this is. Because it's like, it's just a source of a guy confirms the thing from a dude. It just sounds, it really it reads like some sort of Nigerian lottery email. Like, it just is so insane. And yet people just buy it. Like, if you read this, like, an unconfirmed source, who's the source? Someone that's confirmed, but an unnamed source. But who? Unnamed. But like, it just sounds like such a scam. Like, well, there's $20 million in Nigerian lottery funds that we were going to hold in your account because you want. It's like, come on, this, and they keep. It's. Did they even know they sound this crazy, or are they like, oh, most Americans don't care enough; they'll believe anything we tell them, or is it that arrogant, or are they just that dumb, or what is it?
I mean, part of it, for those who are really on the inside, I mean, those who enjoy being a mouthpiece for the empire, they may know or suspect that these things are not true, but they know how these things work. And it is that you give full coverage to this. I mean, they were still asking about, acting like Trump hadn't answered to the Bounties story. They were acting like that months after it came out and was mostly debunked. I mean, now we have the full debunking, but mostly debunked pretty early. So they were still acting that way. And they know that it gets tons of media coverage in those initial weeks, which has the impact they wanted. And it did have the impact they wanted. It made Trump look bad and weak. It made him not withdraw troops from Germany, not withdraw troops from Afghanistan. And it got a lot of America to think, oh, well, we better stay in Afghanistan. Those motherfucking Russians are having our people killed. And like, it got what they wanted. And so now you have the final step of going, oh, yeah, we don't have any evidence of that. Nearly, not a year. I don't know how long we've been doing this podcast, 8 months or something. So like 8 months later, or 10 months, you have the final step of going, yeah, we have no confidence in that. And this story that it's collapsed gets far less coverage, to the level of almost no coverage.
Wait a minute.
And so it serves its purpose.
Rachel Maddow hasn't come forward and retracted her statement. She hasn't said, oh, I messed up. No.
No. Glenn Greenwald goes into like Maddow and then Chris Hayes, where Chris Hayes tweeted, so in the article, Glenn Greenwald goes on to another story, which it would take too long to get into the details, but he goes into the Konstantin Kalemnik likely horse shit. I mean, some of these things it's tough to disprove. It's tough to disprove a negative, but or to prove a negative. But you know, the government claims that Konstantin Kalemnik, who was a translator, gave, you know, elite polling data to the Russians, or Manafort gave elite polling data to Kalemnik, who gave it to the Russian government, something like that. Anyway, Glenn Greenwald points out that Chris Hayes tweeted, "There was no collusion, just the Russians hacking Trump's opponent to help Trump and Trump's campaign manager passing campaign info to the Russians." Ha ha ha, meaning, you know, basically Chris Hayes saying, oh yeah, there was no collusion, except look at all this collusion. And it gets, you know, 5,000 retweets. And Greenwald goes, do you see what Chris Hayes did there? It is vital not to lose sight of how irresponsible and destructive this behavior is that's so common. He saw a press release from a U.S. government agency, read an assertion that it contained in one sentence, had no evidence that this assertion was true, but nonetheless reported it as if it were proven fact to millions of people in a predictably viral tweet. So you have like no evidence other than one government official saying, oh yeah, Kalemnik gave this polling data to the Russians, or no, Manafort gave it to the Russians. You have one anonymous government official saying that. And Chris Hayes then goes, oh yeah, look at this. And everybody, you know, goes viral and everybody talks about it and everything. It's like, it has a desired effect, even when everything collapses later.
They, and then of course they'll turn around and say, boy, you know, the state-owned media in Russia or China. And it's like, well, what are you? How are you? You're not doing journalism. You're pushing out State Department talking points that Russia's bad and they have to be, you know, blaming everything on Russia.
Yeah.
Like it's so convenient too, because now they just always have in their back pocket any election they can blame on Russia. Any outcome they don't like, they blame on Russia.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think it's basically a slight semantics difference. Corporate America owns our government and owns the media. So the media is a bullhorn for corporate America. Therefore, it's a bullhorn for the American government. And people go, well, our media is not state-owned, not state-run. It's like, oh, really? What do they do all day?
What do they do all day? And but I really ultimately, I hope they do an investigation about all the Russian controllers.
Did you say the Russian comptrollers?
Yeah, I want to get the Russian comptrollers squared away. That's really what we need to get to the root of this, and I hope Chris Hayes jumps on the ball for this.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it makes sense that if you know, Russian bots was a problem, Russian comptrollers would be second on the agenda. I mean, absolutely. Next they're gonna have the assistant to the secretary who writes down all the minutes of the meetings.
Oh,
you know. And once they own them, yeah, it's over.
Forget it. I mean, if the assistant to the assistant secretary that's transcribing the minutes is a Russian, forget it. I mean, that will. I mean, I have reasonable intel. They're probably going to get a hold of the meter maids, and then what? You know what I mean? Russian meter maids, just Russian tickets everywhere. You're going to have to start paying in rubles. I mean, it's just going to be a disaster.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which has got to be Putin's long game.
Ironically, Saudi Arabia does own a lot of the parking meters in Chicago. The Saudi Arabian Wealth Fund bought up all the parking meters in Chicago, which means Chicago can't even like turn off their meters. Their meters have gone insane. It's like, you know, $8 for an hour or something, because they're trying to make a profit, and the Saudi Wealth Fund is. And they can't even turn off. They're not allowed to allow free parking even during like parades and shit, like massive, you know, St. Patrick's Day. They can't turn off the meters because they sold them for like 25 or 50 years or something to Saudi Arabia.
That's got to be Rahm Emanuel, right? That had to be one of his deals. Like it just feels like
I'm sure.
it has to. But we shouldn't be too hard on it because it's not like Saudi Arabia has a bunch of money from oil. Like they're barely getting by, so they definitely need parking meters in Chicago to keep the kingdom afloat.
Yeah, I mean, he did it. He didn't do it to get a bunch of money for Chicago. He did it out of care for the Saudis. Like he was concerned for their well-being.
I mean, if another royal family, can't afford to pay for stuff, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, it's really, and thank God we got all that media about some British royal dying. Like, why do we give a shit about those idiots? Like, why? There's like 1,000 royal families in this world. Why do we only care about the British creep ones?
But Graham, he's rich. They were rich. They're rich.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, what if the city of Chicago, is this like a sister city program? Do they have parking meters like in Saudi Arabia?
In what, Riyadh or something?
Riyadh, they have all the meters, and it's a weird program. You think each city would just collect its own. That is the insanity.
Well, we'll trade you. You collect our parking meters, we'll collect yours. Yeah.
Oh God, we got a fantastic country. Was that it, or is there more?
I think we did good work here.
I think we did fantastic work.
Yeah.
We learned about a mining massacre. We learned about Russian comptrollers. I think we really.
And it's always good when we can say something's bullshit, then come back 37 episodes later and go, hey, the Biden administration just admitted that it was bullshit.
It's the bullshit. We were right.
Yeah.
We were right 37 episodes ago, and the Biden administration just confirmed it, yet they still want to hold Russia accountable.
Yeah, well, Russia needs to answer for their behavior. Russia needs to answer for not having done the thing.
Well, I'd like Russia to answer to the fact that why Chicago has Saudi Arabian parking meters. I want to know that. How did that happen?
And by the way, don't try and fucking scam those parking meters or park there where you don't without paying the money, because a guy will come and chop you into pieces with a chainsaw.
Yeah, or at least they'll bury you up to your neck and stone you if you put like a plug nickel into a parking meter. All right, dude. 37. We've proven right. We've answered some riddles. Where can people watch and follow all your business, Lee?
All my stuff's at leecamp.com. I have 2 other podcasts, one called Moment of Clarity, one called Common Censored. You can definitely check out those and see which one's more your vibe. I've also been posting more videos on Twitter. One of them went viral this week, a 2-minute video on how horrific China is. You'll see what I mean. It's a good time, but so my Twitter's at Lee Camp, so there you go.
Nice. And of course, you can make sure you like and share and subscribe this video and Lee's channel and my channel. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, like, download, positive comments, all that stuff helps. And of course, all my stuff is at grahamelwood.com. I'll be back having my studio up and running. So I'll be back live 4 or 5 days a week doing Political Vigilante. And of course, all my merchandise and everything, Patreon, Rockfin, all of that is at grahamelwood.com. So speaking of Afghanistan, my documentary, Lafghanistan, is available at rockfin.com/grahamelwood if you're a premium member. So you can see me go into a war zone.
Really? I gotta check that out.
And get money from the Russians to, that
was a USO tour?
It wasn't. Yeah, it was like that. It wasn't actually through the USO. It was through this other.
It was a Mujahideen tour.
I was actually working I was helping a Russian comptroller try to get votes outside of Kandahar. So it was really good. Yeah, it was a Mujahideen tour. They pay their comics better.
That's why I went. You know, I was just there for morale, really.
Just keep the Mujahideen happy. It's really good. Well, all right, buddy. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for I'm sorry for the tech issues in the new place, but we made it work.
No worries. We're all looking forward to the Black Void coming back behind you.
Yes.
Talk to you soon, man. Hang in there.
All right, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Later.